Hello and welcome. Namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump terminates all trade talks with Canada after what he termed was a fraudulent ad showing late President Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. Afghanistan takes inspiration from India to corner Pakistan. The Taliban government's minister Mullah Abdul Latif Mansoor hints at plans to build dams across the Kuna River, which is known as the Chitral, across the border. Putin remains defiant despite Trump's move to sanction Moscow's oil, dismissing it as a pressure tactic. The Russian president also warns that response to strikes deep inside his country's territory will be very serious, if not overwhelming. Zelenskyy meets with Britain's King Charles and Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London ahead of the coalition of the willing leaders' meeting to figure out ways to further rally around Ukraine in its conflict with Russia. And US consumer prices increased slightly less than expected in September, rising by 0.3% after climbing by 0.4% in August, keeping the Fed Reserve on track to cut interest rates again next week. US President Donald Trump has said on Thursday that all trade talks with Canada were terminated following what he called a fraudulent advertisement in which former and late President Ronald Reagan spoke negatively about tariffs. Trump wrote on Truth Social, and I quote, "Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated," end quote. The ad showed Reagan, a Republican, criticizing tariffs on foreign goods while saying they caused job losses and trade wars. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation issued a statement late on Thursday saying the ad by the Government of Ontario was using selective audio and video of Ronald Reagan and that the foundation was reviewing its legal options. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney told reporters on Thursday that Canada will not allow unfair US access to its markets if talks on various trade deals with Washington fail. The US imposed tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminium and autos earlier this year, prompting Ottawa to respond in kind. And the latest remark from Mark Carney is that Canada is ready for more talks with the Americans when they're ready. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned on Thursday that Moscow's response to any strikes deep inside its territory would be very serious and overwhelming. Addressing reports that Washington had eased restrictions on Ukraine's use of long-range Western missiles and President Zelenskyy's comments about developing domestic weapons with a 3,000-kilometer range, Vladimir Putin said such moves were an attempt to escalate, warning that attacks on Russian territory would invite a powerful retaliation.
This is an attempt to escalate, but if these weapons are used to strike on Russia, the response will be very serious. I should even say overwhelming. Let them think about it.
Despite the tensions, Putin emphasized that Moscow has always supported dialogue with Washington and still does. He said Trump's decision to cancel the summit, which was to be held in Budapest, appeared to be a postponement rather than a complete cancellation, adding dialogue is always better than confrontation.
The US president has decided to cancel or postpone this meeting. More likely, he is talking about postponing it. What can we say? Dialogue is always better than any confrontation.
And amid tensions over the Ukraine war, Russian President Putin's special envoy for investment and economic cooperation, Kirill Dmitriev, is on a visit to the US for talks. Quoting an unnamed source, Russian state-owned news agency RIA informed about this on Friday. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has met Britain's King Charles at Windsor Castle on Friday ahead of the coalition of the willing meeting in London. The two reviewed the guards before engaging in a brief interaction. King Charles III has been a vocal supporter of Ukraine, having previously hosted Zelenskyy after his meeting with Donald Trump. The London discussions will feature both in-person and virtual participation. Leaders including NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof and Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen are expected to join the talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And Starmer has called for more support for Ukraine as well as part of the deliberations. Now, the Trump administration and Republican lawmakers in the Congress have cautioned on Thursday that flight disruptions are likely to worsen as the government shutdown stretches into its 23rd day, leaving air traffic controllers without their first full paycheck. Around 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers are being forced to work without pay during the shutdown. Controllers are set to miss their first complete paycheck on Tuesday. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt warned of major flight delays, disruptions and cancellations at airports nationwide during the holiday season, blaming the Democrats for the ongoing impasse. But the Democrats, however, dismissed the accusation, insisting that it's President Trump and Republican leaders who are responsible for the stalemate by refusing to engage in negotiations.
If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel.
Tensions flared in Alameda, California on Thursday as protesters clashed with police over arrival of federal agents at local Coast Guard base. President Trump reversed course on sending federal agents to San Francisco. The president's announcement on Thursday surprised many as he declared that no federal agents would be deployed to San Francisco despite earlier plans. The move comes amid ongoing debates over immigration enforcement in Democratic-led cities. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that an international security force to be put in place in Gaza under a ceasefire agreement will have to be made up of countries that Israel is comfortable with. Rubio said that he did not believe that Israel would annex the West Bank, playing down this week's Knesset vote to advance two bills. Rubio was speaking during a tour at the Civil Military Coordination Center in Israel's Kiryat Gat this afternoon.
See, as you put together this force, it'll have to be people that Israel's comfortable, or countries that Israel's comfortable with as well. Let me just say that I think there are a lot of countries that are expressing interest right now. I'm not going to get into a list of who they are. This is a vote that they took in the Knesset. From what it was explained to me, it was elements that tried to use it to embarrass Netanyahu while the vice president was here. Suffice it to say, you know, we don't think it's going to happen, and more importantly, it's not, from a legislative standpoint, structured in a way that could happen.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today released a commemorative postage stamp during an event in Delhi to mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. The stamp, designed through a national competition that saw nearly 7.4 lakh students' entries, celebrating India's enduring commitment to the UN's ideals of peace, equality and human dignity. The event also celebrated India Post's historical association with the UN, showcasing their collaborative efforts in promoting global cooperation and sustainable development. The commemorative stamp stands as a symbol of hope and unity, reflecting the youth's vision for a peaceful and connected world. Dr. Jaishankar reaffirmed India's commitment to peace, security and development, emphasizing that India will continue to be a strong supporter of the United Nations and multilateralism.
On UN Day, I would like to reiterate India's commitment to the ideals of peace and security, as well as development and progress. India has always been and will continue to be a strong votary of the United Nations and indeed of multilateralism. Our commitment to global peace and security is reflected, amongst others, in our staunch support for peacekeeping, and I'm very glad that the first day cover captures that particular facet as well.
He also underlined that the UN's decision-making no longer reflects global realities, stressing the need for meaningful reforms to ensure the organization remains effective, representative and relevant.
We must also recognize that all is not well with the United Nations. Its decision-making neither reflects its membership nor addresses global priorities. Its debates have become increasingly polarized and it's working visibly gridlocked. Any meaningful reform is obstructed using the reform process itself.
Afghanistan is taking assertive steps to assert its water sovereignty, a move that could have severe consequences for Pakistan's already fragile water and energy security. Following weeks of deadly clashes along the Durand Line, Kabul has announced plans to construct dams on the Kuna River, signaling a strategic effort to control water flowing into Pakistan. According to Afghanistan's Deputy Minister of Information, Afghan Supreme Leader Akhundzada had instructed the ministry to begin construction of dams on the Kuna River as soon as possible and to sign contracts with domestic companies. The 480-kilometer-long Kuna River, known as the Chitral River in Pakistan, feeds into the Kabul River, which ultimately joins the Indus near Attock. Islamabad, which has long relied on Afghan rivers for irrigation and hydropower, now faces a looming water crisis of its own. Any reduction in the Kuna's flow would impact both Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab provinces, further straining Pakistan's irrigation and agricultural output, which has already been impinged by how India has reacted after the Pahalgam terror attack in terms of putting the water treaty, the Indus Water Treaty, in abeyance. Japan's new Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae has pledged on Friday to accelerate a defense spending target by 2 years as her government pursues proactive fiscal expansion on strategic priorities. In her first policy speech, Takaichi told Parliament that Japan aims to reach a defense spending goal of 2% of gross domestic product or GDP in the current fiscal year through March, ahead of the original target of fiscal 2027.
Our nation must take the initiative in radically strengthening its defense capabilities. To this end, we will act to bring forward the implementation of the 2% of GDP level within the current financial year set out in the National Security Strategy in conjunction with supplementary budgetary measures.
Takaichi had previously said that Japan is completely looked down upon by China and that Tokyo must address the security threat posed by Beijing, while calling for more security cooperation with Taiwan.
China is an important neighbor of Japan, and we must build a constructive and stable relationship. At the same time, it is a fact that security and economic security concerns exist between Japan and China. We will advance our strategic, mutually beneficial relationship through frank and repeated dialogue between our leaders.
U.S. inflation edged slightly higher in September as the Federal Reserve prepares to lower interest rates again next week to shore up the labor market. The Consumer Price Index, released 10 days late by the Bureau of Labor Statistics on Friday due to the lockdown, rose 3% from the same time last year. That is the fastest annual pace since the start of the year and marks a small rise from the previous 2.9% level. Core inflation, which the central bank tracks as a gauge of underlying inflation since it strips out volatile items like energy and food prices, eased slightly to 3%. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. France's socialists threaten to topple the government by Monday if their budget conditions are not met. A London exhibition traces dark history of the occult. And art meets eternity in New Delhi as noted artist Goldie Malhotra unveils her solo exhibition Echoes of the Eternal.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, France's socialists have threatened to topple the government by Monday if their budget conditions are not met. Socialist Party leader Olivier Faure said on Friday they would file a no-confidence bill next week if the mega-rich are not forced to pay more tax. Given the arithmetic of France's starkly divided parliament, the socialists have the power to topple Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu's weak minority government if they partner with the far left and the far right, which have already said they want to oust him. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched Bihar's election campaign for the NDA today from Samastipur. The PM paid homage to Bharat Ratna and former Bihar Chief Minister Karpuri Thakur in Samastipur district. The PM also met his family members. Prime Minister Modi, accompanied by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, was there at the venue. Karpuri Thakur is remembered for his dedication to social justice and the upliftment of marginalized communities. Later, the PM also addressed a public meeting at Doodpura helipad grounds in Samastipur, invoking the legacy of socialist icon Karpuri Thakur and pledging to accelerate development and social justice across the state.
हम जननायक कर्पूरी ठाकुर की प्रेरणा से सुशासन को समृद्धि में बदल रहे हैं, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ आरजेडी और कांग्रेस वाले क्या कह रहे हैं और क्या कर रहे हैं, ये आपको मुझसे ज्यादा पता है। मुझे आपको याद दिलाने की जरूरत नहीं है। हजारों करोड़ रुपए के घोटालों में ये जमानत पर चल रहे लोग हैं, जमानत पे। और जो जमानत पे है वो चोरी के मामले में जमानत पे है। अब ये चोरी की इनकी आदत ऐसी है कि अब जननायक की उपाधि की चोरी में जुटे हैं। बिहार के लोग जननायक कर्पूरी बाबू का ये अपमान कभी नहीं सहेंगे।
And the PM today said that employment fairs have become a medium for fulfilling the dreams of the youth of the country. The PM made these remarks in a video message at the 17th National Rozgar Mela or Employment Fair in New Delhi. During the event, appointment letters to more than 51,000 newly recruited youth in various government departments and organizations were distributed under the Rozgar Mela initiative. Prime Minister Modi said through these employment fairs alone, more than 1.1 million appointment letters have been given to young people in the past some time. The Prime Minister also launched the Viksit Bharat Yojana in the country, which aims to provide jobs to crores of youth.
11 वर्षों से देश विकसित भारत के निर्माण का संकल्प लेकर आगे बढ़ रहा है। इसमें सबसे बड़ी भूमिका हमारे युवाओं की है, आप सबकी है। इसलिए युवाओं का सशक्तिकरण ये भाजपा एनडीए सरकार की प्राथमिकता है। आज रोजगार मेले युवाओं के सपनों को पूरा करने का माध्यम बन गए हैं। अकेले इन रोजगार मेलों के जरिए बीते कुछ समय में ही 11 लाख से ज्यादा नियुक्ति पत्र दिए जा चुके हैं। और ये प्रयास केवल सरकारी नौकरियों तक ही सीमित नहीं है। हमने देश में पीएम विकसित भारत रोजगार योजना भी शुरू की है। इसके तहत 3.5 करोड़ युवाओं को नौकरी देने का लक्ष्य रखा गया है।
A new book titled Modi's Mission, authored by renowned lawyer and writer Brijesh Desai, has been released on Friday in Mumbai. Maharashtra Governor Acharya Devvrat and Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis jointly launched the book in the presence of the book's author. The book traces Prime Minister Modi's inspiring journey from a humble childhood in Vadnagar to his emergence as the nation's leader. Ahead of Chhath Puja, Prime Minister Modi urged citizens to share their favorite devotional songs dedicated to Chhathi Maiya, saying the melodies enhance the festival's divinity. Calling Chhath a celebration of nature and culture, he said he would share selected songs on his social media platform in the coming days. Now, special preparations for the grand Chhath Puja festivities have been intensified in Delhi to ensure the best experience for the devotees observing the Chhath Puja fasting and offering arghya. The preparations by the Delhi government are underway at around 1,000 sites across Delhi, including the development of 17 model ghats. Embankments are being built alongside the river to create a seamless experience. For security, wooden barricades have been installed along the banks of the Yamuna River. Decoration work on both banks of the Yamuna River have been progressing at a rapid pace. The Delhi police on Friday paid homage to its martyrs at the National Police Memorial in New Delhi. The solemn ceremony was led by Commissioner of Delhi Police Satish Golcha, who along with senior officers laid floral tributes in the honor of those who sacrificed their lives in the line of duty. According to officials, 186 police officers across the country lost their lives in service over the past 1 year, including 8 from the Delhi police. To mark the event, the Delhi Police Brass and Pipe Band played special tunes, adding a note of reverence to the tribute ceremony. Art meets eternity in New Delhi as noted artist Goldie Malhotra unveiled her solo exhibition Echoes of the Eternal. The exhibition was inaugurated by Dikshu C. Kukreja, renowned architect and Honorary Consul General of the Republic of Albania, along with Sanjay Pasi, chairperson of the PASCO Group. Showcasing over 50 paintings, the exhibition explores 3 profound themes: Buddhism, Indian mythology and contemporary life. Each canvas reflects Malhotra's search for what endures beyond time, blending the sacred and the everyday through bold spatula strokes and an expressive understated palette.
Architecture is an act which goes beyond our own lifetime. What we create is going to be remaining here for many, many years and decades and hopefully centuries after we have left the earth. Art and architecture are 2 sides of the same coin and they need to be always thought together. So whether it was our master planning for the city of Ayodhya or it was our design of Gautam Buddha University, in every work we have believed that we should be able to breathe art into it, because art is what enlivens architecture.
A new exhibition in London showcases the dark and ominous history of the occult and the supernatural from across the globe, just ahead of Halloween. Dark Secrets, the esoteric exhibition, open to the public since the 11th of this month, offering audiences antiquities as varied as Europe's largest collection of cursed dolls, a 19th century vampire hunting kit, and shrunken heads created by the Amazon's Shuar tribes as war trophies. The exhibition also aims to debunk and expose fraudulent mediums and illusionary devices like Ouija boards and slates that supposedly capture messages from the dead. And on that slightly scary note, that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.